Hi everyone, welcome back to the final word. The Wolverhampton Wanderers draw with Newcastle United yesterday. So we're going to be talking about that alongside a number of guests today. As always, appreciate you popping by. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and give us your comments in the, of course, in the comment section down below throughout the stream today, or if you are watching it back as well. Start off with our first guest. We've got Mr. Tom Rouse once again. Tom, how you keeping, mate?
I'm right, yeah. I'm quite, looking forward to the rest of the season now. A bit of springtime, season hotting up a little bit.
I know, weather's
Fight for 10th
looking a bit better now. Yeah, 5 for 10th. Yeah. I mean, 1-1 draw against Newcastle yesterday. We have finished the month unbeaten, but what were your thoughts on yesterday's result?
I just want to preface all of this by saying I had to watch it on my phone because we've got no electric downstairs, so the big telly and stuff couldn't watch it. I had to watch it on a phone. So I don't think my view of the game is perhaps as detailed as it might have been, but in hindsight, I think it's probably a deserved point. I don't think we deserved to win the game from the whole 90 minutes. I think we made quite a few mistakes defensively. We weren't as positive going forward as we were in other games, particularly in the first half an hour or so. I think we were really sluggish, which was disappointing, considering how we started against Leeds, how we finished against Southampton. We can't seem to do it for prolonged periods of time. We either do it at the beginning or in the second half or whatever. But the wingers, Neto and Traore, I thought were superb yesterday. I think Traore, in fact, more so than Neto. What he provided for the other attackers in the middle and for the players, the midfielders joining the box, which is another positive from yesterday, is that we're now seeing the new dangerous Dave. We've waited so long to have Dave Edwards replaced, and now with Neves, we've got that. So, I'm pretty pleased, I think. And, there will be some criticism of drawing against Newcastle, a team who are down the bottom, but they're a team who are desperate to win every game and battle for every point. It's a tough game because of that. We can't just expect that we're going to win because we've won a couple of games recently. But, this is the kind of form that we're going to expect for the rest of the season. We're going to drop points against these teams and just hope that we can put together. I mean, I said on the podcast the other day that we shouldn't really look for positions and look for, try and finish 7th. We can still get 57 points realistically, which would be on a par with the last couple of seasons. Where that gets us to finish, it doesn't really matter so long as we do good enough in those games and give us something to look forward to next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, like you say, big Ruben Neves turned into prime Dave Edwards. He was a couple of times though when he was getting into the box. Yeah, it was a cracking header, wasn't it, for that equaliser?
Such a difficult.
You could argue, could have done better, but the way he's sort of almost the ball was behind him. It was a fantastic header, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable. I mean, it's not a skill that we've seen Neves use on the pitch. It's the only time we've seen him use that skill is when they're playing that head tennis game in the Compton. Yeah. But it shows, and you see often with Moutinho when he makes those sort of headed passes really, aggressively down. So it's really, really good, and it's something that he should be doing. He's such an excellent passer of a ball that surely in an 18-yard box, if he gets a gap, it's the same
Passing
kind of skill. Finding a gap like Kevin McDonald used to do.
We've got someone in the chat there, Liam Bagnall. Big up Liam. He says, please tell me I'm not the only fan a bit annoyed at Adama at the minute. Does all the hard work, but on occasions can't make a basic pass. Well, Adama has been a big talking point. Even like you go on social media, I've seen all these large football pages, bring up the fact he's got 0 goal contributions this season. But for me personally, I think he's improved so much in the last few weeks. I just think his work rate on and off the ball has improved. I know you say there, Liam, you can't make a basic pass, but he played in 2 great balls for Pedro Neto, I thought. One especially in that first half. And it was the same with Dion Dublin in on the Sky Sports studio saying, you know what, he's not got the end product. And then they went on to show 2 clips of him playing decent balls into the area. And he's no good on the left-hand side. And the next clip of him playing on the left wing saying, this is where he wants to be. It just made no sense. But I think I don't know, you've already pinpointed him earlier on, Tom. What do you think of his performance yesterday especially?
I thought he did really well yesterday for the majority of the game. There was that one chance that he put across. Well, there was one for I think both Neto and Traore had very similar sort of crosses in that. Quite deep. Jose wasn't quite there. Yeah, and I don't know, on another day, something is created from them. I think on the whole, he played quite well yesterday. I can't really remember. Well, there's one mistake which I pointed out that I thought it was Traore's mistake when he passed it out to Neto and it went out of play. But then somebody in my comments yesterday said that they thought it was Neto's fault in that he made the wrong run.
He stopped his run, didn't he? I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've only seen
it once. Fantastic pass,
to
be honest, but yeah.
No, but there's a lot of frustration between the two of them. I don't know whether that was aimed at Traore from Neto, and whether there's a bit of a clash there. Because I think there has been frustration aimed at Traore from within the squad previously. I've seen, when you're at the games and you're close up to it, you see some of the looks that the players give to Traore and the way that they shout at him. They do want more from him because they know that he can do more. But he is getting better. Whether that contract is sort of been put on the back burner for a little while because it's not up in the summer. It's not. I think he's got a couple of years left on the contract.
Yeah, it's got ages left.
So I can't remember what it was. Maybe the Athletic talking about sort of that his agent has this reputation of doing this a few times and trying to up his wages or to force a move somewhere else. I'm not too worried if he carries on playing the way he has done for these last couple of games. Then I'm more than happy to let him stay in the summer if I was in charge. But I could understand if Jeff and Nuno think that he'd be worth 30-40 million and cashing in and investing it elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it was I can see Liam's point. There were the odd occasion where it's just like he possibly had a couple too many touches or could have played an easier pass, which has happened before. But I think, there was a stat today. Last night's game was the most dribbles a player in the top 5 leagues have made. Successful dribbles a player in the top 5 leagues have made all season. So that's how good he was, just driving the ball forward for Wolves. But
yeah,
I think we all as fans want to see him getting in amongst the goals again, but he, much better performance from him overall last night. There were obviously, you mentioned Neto as well. I felt he had a slightly quieter game, but do you think those two, we've seen now 2 or 3 full games with those two on opposite wings. Do you think that's the way Nuno's got to go for the rest of the season?
I think so. I think we've looked better as a team going forward that way, but it does become very predictable when you have 2 inverted wingers, when as soon as they get to sort of 20 yards from goal, they're going to have to cut inside. So I think it's something that they should try to change during a game, have a kind of shout that, now change.
Swap it up.
Yeah, because fullbacks don't swap, do they? So if you have, I can't remember who the fullbacks were last night, but if they think, all right, I've got my handle over Traore now, I know what I'm doing. He's going to cut inside when he gets to this point. But then you put Neto over there 10 minutes later, it's going to confuse him and cause damage. I think that's, again, something that I've been banging on about for a long time, is that we're not fluid enough within games. We're too rigid and structured, which has been what we've been so good at. But, to develop into a top 4 team, you have to be able to do that during a game.
Yeah, and a big talking point yesterday as well, which I'm sure we'll talk about a lot throughout the show, is Willian Jose and his performance or performances, and obviously the impact that Fabio Silva gave as well. Look, Willian Jose, I've given him a lot of praise in recent weeks because I think I recognise what he does off the ball, really. Again, a lot of fans, as a striker, you want to be seeing him scoring the goals. Yeah. Last night was probably the one that frustrated me the most from him, just because I felt like, yes, the ball wasn't given to him, but I just don't think he got himself about enough. What's your stance on him at the moment, Tom? I mean, obviously, he's possibly not doing enough to earn, a full-time contract, but what did you think of his performance last night?
I think last night, again, he was doing the basics and what we've missed from Jimenez in the sort of middle third of the pitch, in holding the ball up and bringing the other players in. But he doesn't have chances, which I think you can put down to him. I've mentioned it a couple of times already. The 2 balls I can remember that were put across the 6-yard box that he should have been killing himself to get a foot on. He only needed a touch, and it was a goal for him to get off the mark. He doesn't look low on confidence, but I think it's just taking him a little bit of time to get used to the way that we play and being an only striker. But I don't know how Sociedad play, but perhaps he had I know that his strike partner's scoring loads of goals now, isn't he, since he's left? Yeah. Very much like Callum Wilson and Leon Clark when we signed the wrong one of them. But it does take time. He's done a fantastic job in the last couple of weeks in improving our form. He's had a huge impact on the team. I don't know whether he's worth 22.5 million yet. I think I was listening to the Express and Star, and they said these fees aren't necessarily set in stone, and perhaps they can negotiate a little bit. And if it was 12 million or 10 million as a backup to Jimenez, that's a little bit more reasonable. But I don't know whether he would want that. I think he sees himself probably as a number one striker and wants to have that game time. And I don't know whether he can do that for Wolves going forward, but we'll have to wait and see. I think maybe against some of the lower teams in the Premier League, he might bag a goal or two, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I suppose, as a new striker coming in, you got to hope that he could get a goal, and that sort of gets him going. That tends to happen quite a lot. But we saw Fabio Silva come on for a short period yesterday and just added quite a bit of energy straight away. Do you think he's within a chance to start against Manchester City on Tuesday?
Well, do you know what? I'm really glad that what Jose's done. The best thing he's done is given Fabio a bit of time to do what he should be doing this season and sitting on the bench and coming on for the last 5-10 minutes. And in the last 2 games, he's had 2 chances within those 5 or 10 minutes, which does show that he has a footballing brain and can get into these positions. Whereas when he's playing for 90 minutes, I don't think he's got the stamina or the brain the concentration perhaps to last that long. So that's really positive. And he was very unlucky last night. They made out it was amazing save by Dubravka, but he did nothing wrong. Silva headed it straight at his shoulder, a few centimetres, the other side, and that's a goal. I wouldn't be starting him at the minute. I think he's doing, he's developing now in a way that we would expect. 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the end of games. That's really good. I would be tempted to give him more minutes in the under-23s. I watched their game against Palace Tuesday or Wednesday last week, and I thought that it's tailor-made for
They
Silva
play good football as well, the 23s. I think
they're so intense.
Really
Really, really intense. I mean, compared to the first team, it's a lot faster, the games. The other players are all very, very similar in terms of build and age. So that would be perfect for the next 10, 15 games or however long is left in the under-23s league to give Silva an hour each game and then keeping him relatively fresh in case of minutes needed in the first team. But it just shows as well the lack of depth that we've got in the squad, that Fabio Silva is needed in the first team squad because there's nobody else. I mean, and as well in the under-23s, Austin Samuels, I think he scored yesterday, but not good enough to be into the first team squad.
I mean, he had a League One, League Two move this season that didn't go to plan. So I think that's the level of a lot of the 23s players at the moment. But I mean, we maybe next season. I think, like you say, this season possibly not with what's going on, but maybe next season. But Tom, time to move on. A big thanks for jumping on as always, mate. And I'm sure we'll chat very soon.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Mate. No worries, mate. Thanks a lot. Well, big thanks to Tom for jumping on there. You can check out his channel, The Old Gold and Black, as well for his match reviews after the games. Keep your comments coming in, guys. Really appreciate your thoughts so far. We'll move on to our next guest now. We've got Dan from the Fancast. How you doing, mate?
How you doing, Dave? Nice to thanks for inviting me on. Appreciate it.
No problem, mate. Game yesterday. What were your thoughts?
It's hard not to be bipolar with Wolves at the moment. I don't really know what the correct answer is to that because we all want more, but you have to just take into account where this season's panned out with the recruitment in the summer, no pre-season, losing Jimenez. It's tough. Newcastle needed the points more than we did, so you could see from their intent from the off that they wanted it a bit more. I thought we were lucky to go into the break. I mean, the game going into the break 0-0 was shocking. Never mind us not being behind because of the chances that we gave them. But it's tough to give that a reasonable answer without either being a happy clapper or bedwet or whatever people call ourselves these days.
There was obviously, I think on your Twitter I saw a lot of comments about Willian Jose's performance. Obviously, I spoke to Tom a lot about it just. What are your thoughts on that situation at the moment?
It's got to be demoralising for him, pretty much just running around and you're not getting any service. I know that Tom mentioned the one cross that Neto put across the 6-yard box where you'd be looking for any sort of target man centre forward to be on the end of that, but Jimenez was sort of regular for dropping to the penalty spot on them sort of areas of crossing in. I think it's just tough for him at the moment. I think us going to inverted wingers with Neto and Adama being central, he's just not going to get the service that the sort of target man role that he's got is needed. It's tough for him, really. I don't see what more he can do. Obviously, he drew out the two defenders for Neves' goal, which was good movement, but Cristiano Ronaldo was struggling this team because we don't create enough. It's simple as that.
So what do you think? You think he should be starting against City, or do you think Fabio deserves that start?
No, he has to start against City. I think we need the physicality up front to hold the ball up when we actually do have a break away from possession. As much as I'm a massive fan of Fabio, and I think he will come good in a few years' time, he ain't ready physically. He's just not up to Premier League standards. He's got the nous to being in the right areas, and obviously he's got an eye for goal. But over in 90 minutes, especially away to Man City, you're throwing him into the deep end there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in the comments agree with you as well. So, say if Nuno, writes his season off now, what has he got to do in the summer to improve Wolves' fortunes next year? Does he stick with his formation? Does he go back to the four at the back? What do you reckon?
It's tough for him. Me personally, if he's the man to take us forward in the long term, he needs to be looking at a formation change. I think he's sort of similar to Solskjaer and the likes of like Diego Simeone for me, where he can set up teams to get a really amazing result on a one-off game. But over a 38-game season, I don't think he's got the attacking nous to break teams down over a 38-game season like these bottom half teams like we showed last night. It took us until we went 1-0 down for us to sort of have any impetus going forward. I mean, I think Tom mentioned like Fabio being in the right... Well, a lot of people saying that Fabio did a lot more in the 10 minutes than Jose did in the 80. But that's just because Wolves had a bit more intent, and obviously the handbrake was off because once we got the goal, confidence obviously increased and we started pushing a bit forward and putting the pressure on Newcastle's defence, which led to Fabio's chance at the end.
Yeah, I'd agree. And so what if we go to four at the back? Surely Wolves have got to be looking at like an elite centre half. That's got to be the priority in the summer.
That's what sort of the journalist was saying a couple of weeks ago, that a marquee centre back is one of the main priorities in the summer. If you're going to go to 4-2-3-1, you need to fix that spine. So maybe two centre backs and a centre midfielder, one to sort of accompany Neves, give him a bit more freedom to do the long range passing. That we need a box to box midfielder for me. We have needed one since we got promoted. I thought it was, obviously it's all hindsight now, but I thought it was a bit daft not signing Alfred Undana permanent with the depth that he would have. I know it's a bit daft because he ain't world class, but just a rough and ready box to box midfielder that I think we've missed over the last 2 or 3 years. As good as Neves and Moutinho are, they haven't got that. I mean, I know Neves did it last night without that late run into the box for the goal, but that's not their game, is it?
Do you not think someone like Says could do that job?
I've mentioned it before that if we to get like a proper centre back in, you could have easily put either Says or Dendoncker back into midfield, and just need a proper centre back to go in next to Bolly.
Well, going back to the game yesterday, obviously Adama probably shining the most out of most of those players on the pitch. So what do you think about his season so far? Is he 0 goal contributions, but is he improving now? Is he getting more involved? Are those goals and assists going to come?
I mean, was it the 26th game last night, and he still hasn't got a goal or assist this season? It's frustrating. I know we've been missing a focal point in the box for a lot of the season where he's been, telegraphing those crosses from the right. It's frustrating for him, I think, but this shows why Barcelona let him go originally. I think he's just missing that sort of that success rate of actually creating stuff. I know we've missed Raul, but he is massively frustrating to watch it. But he's a player that I don't think we can afford to be without, unless someone's willing to pay the money that Wolves are going to want. Same with Pedro Neto, unless they're willing to pay the money that we want. Losing either of them this summer would be a massive blow.
Yeah, I mean, both of them have improved massively, and I think we've spoken about Willian Jose just now, but we've just struggled to get that focal point. I think we would be in a much better position with the likes of Jimenez, but the back five. I mean, what do you think of that at the moment? I mean, the situation with the season. it looks like we're going to be sticking with this for the rest of the season. Do you think, that back three is good enough to try and push for that top half finish? Or do you think someone like Max Kilman deserves a bit more of a go?
I think we'll finish 10th this season based on the sort of momentum that we've got going at the moment. We're shithousing points at the moment. And I think that'll just be enough to get us around 10th. Long term, that back three is not the way forward. They're half decent midfielders at best. They ain't defenders. I mean, Saïs's defending was, I don't know if you know, it was the 400th Premier League goal that we'd conceded for Wolves last night. And we've defended like that. It pretty much shows how we've got such a high number. I know obviously not this season, but across our Premier League history, the 400th goal that we've conceded, we've defending because of a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's avoidable. A lot of our goals that we concede are avoidable.
Yeah.
Like if they were better goals, you could applaud it, but we give away so many. Like yesterday, the marking's poor, but Neves has got to get tighter on the crosser as well for me. But we see that a lot, don't we?
Yeah, it's like 3 seasons in a row now that they've scored from a sort of second phase header. It seems to me that we've got a process which I like to call cluster defending, which is just try and get as many bodies in between the goal frame and hope it just hits one of them. There doesn't seem to be any sort of process right, I'm going to go and win this header. I'm going to go and take control of this situation. It just seems haphazard. Hope for the best, just get bodies in the way of Rui.
I mean,
I don't think Max Kilman's the answer. I've made my opinions clear on our podcast numerous times. As good as Max Kilman is, I don't think he's a Premier League defender.
Premier League or just... you don't think he's Premier League quality?
No, I don't.
Why is that?
Just don't think he is. I don't think his positioning is overly great. His distributions... I've said this before. His distribution is on par with Courtney House.
You know, another one which is quite an interesting one, Dion Sanderson as well. A lot of people wanting him back and think he could be a squad member. I think he's the exact same as that, really.
You can't be asking these sort of players to be making jumps up to the Premier League. You've seen in the past with the likes of sort of Ebanks, Blake, that gulf between the Championship and the Premier League. You can't be asking Dion Sanderson. That's what I mean. You can't be asking these players to make that jump. I mean, how many players from League One? You're looking like Dele Alli, Jamie Vardy. That's it. You're asking too much of these young players. I mean, people keep mentioning sort of giving that Theo Corbiano a chance. I don't think he's ready for Premier League level.
Yeah, I mean, you see, like I said to Tom, there's a lot of 23s players at the moment going out on loan to League One and not doing very well at all. And I think the jump is big. And these people that want the likes of Dion Sanderson in the squad are the same people that want us to sign an elite centre back. You can't hold on. There's no room for sentiment if you want to go. You want to progress as a club, really. And like, no disrespect to the likes of Cody, if we want to become a top 6 regular, you can't be having players like Connor Cody in the squad either, or first team 11 rather.
Yes, that's the realism behind us now. I think the 2 7th place finishes were obviously exceptional. I don't think the 7th place finish in the first season was an overachievement with the squad of players that we had. I think last season, finishing 7th with the Europa run was an overachievement. But going back to sort of yours and Tom's conversation before I joined, what's your opinion on Fabio Silva come the end of the season once Jimenez is back? Would you loan him out? Because I don't agree with loaning him out, even if he was back abroad. Or I definitely don't agree with him playing under 23s. I think that would be a massive knock to his confidence if he wasn't scoring for fun at that level.
Yeah, I think both of them really though. If he's not playing well wherever he is, his value's just going to drop and the pressure's going to rise. So I think you're right. I think maybe the Papa John's Trophy that he played in, I think there was massive pressure on him then as well against Doncaster. I thought, if he don't score here, there's going to be huge pressure on him. Luckily he did, got a couple, but I think I agree with you. I'd have him in and around the squad. I like him a lot. I think he's just got to bulk out a little bit.
You've got like seven subs. Obviously, once this lockdown's over, I don't know whether they'll keep. Is 9 permanent forever now? Or
I think they'll drop it back to 7.
Yeah. So even if they had 7 subs, I'd still want him in the matchday squad, whether he starts on the bench or not. I think he's got to just learn his craft now from Raul and Jose, and just hope that once he gets his opportunity, I don't like going back to like old times sort of thing. But the season we got promoted under Mick McCarthy, we had Ebanks, Iwalumo, Keogh and Vokes. If he can be the sort of Keogh Vokes that has a few minutes, get some goals, just to keep bedding in some experience, and then he'll kick on. Once Raul goes back to Mexico or retires, he'll hopefully be ready to take the mantle then.
I agree. Well, Dan, it's been a pleasure chatting as always, mate. And I'll chat to you very soon, mate.
Take care, Dave.
See you, mate. Cheers. Well, big thanks to Dan. I'm not too sure why there was an audio issue there. I think it may be because he didn't have any headphones in, which is I know this program plays it with stuff like that. So yeah, apologise about the echoing there, guys. But yeah, keep your comments coming in. We'll move on to our next couple of guests now. We've got James and Scott from the Sweet and Sour Soccer YouTube channel. How you doing, boys?
All good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. Thank you. Good. 1-1 draw yesterday with Newcastle. Scott, what were your thoughts on that draw last night?
To be fair, we were a bit lucky, in my opinion, to actually come away with the draw. I think Newcastle, especially in the first 20 minutes, they probably could have been 2-0 up. St. Maximin was causing us havoc all over the place, wasn't he? He was looking absolutely fantastic. You had Almiron, who was also causing us issues. So particularly in the first half, I think we were lucky not to go in maybe 2-0, even 2-0 down. Again, we come out the second half and we looked the weaker team. Obviously, we pulled it a bit back towards the end. But yeah, I definitely think we're lucky to get the draw, in my opinion.
I know you talk about St. Maximin there. We haven't really spoke about it much today. I know someone earlier on in the chat, would you swap Adama Traore for St. Maximin there, James?
That's a good question. I think what you have to ask yourself is, would Adama be producing as much as St. Maximum is in that Newcastle team? And I don't think he would be. I know Adama is one of our players and I've been critical of him this season. I don't think Adama has the impact for Newcastle that St. Maximum has. And I think if St. Maximum is in our team this season, it's not hard to produce more numbers than Adama has this season, obviously. But yeah, I mean, if you offered me a straight swap now, I take it in a heartbeat, if I'm being honest, as a genuine fan.
Yeah. I mean, he was great. I think, I've not really seen a huge amount of him. I know he's pretty highly rated, and I think injuries may get the better of him. But yeah, he was really decent at times yesterday overall. James, I mean, a lot of the talk today has been about the Willian Jose situation. He's been quiet for Wolves, not got a goal yet. And Fabio Silva obviously came on last 5-10 minutes and produced, arguably the chance of the game. What's your stance on Willian Jose at the moment?
I went on a massive rant about him last night. I don't want to plug the channel too much, but 7 shots, 7 attempts, not on target, 7 attempts in 516 minutes. I'm seeing comments, he's getting plaudits for his link-up play, he's holding the ball up. What do? Get Kevin Doyle back in the team? At least this guy added goals. I'm not just saying this for clickbait. This guy is atrocious. I don't know what are we doing. Is this someone that we are legitimately contemplating spending close to £20 million on? If so, serious questions need to be asked, whether it's tactics, personnel, and in the recruitment side. If he's just here to replace Raul, why isn't Fabio playing? I don't understand what we're doing. The guy who was on just before us, I think he was brilliant in most things he said, to be fair. And the point he said, in regards to Fabio, if we loan him out after spending £35 million, if he fails at Olympiacos or Lyon, that halves straight away. Then if he comes back in the team, is that experience going to dent his confidence? We've got a potential gem here, an 18-year-old that is in the right places at the right time. He won 2 headers yesterday. Aggressive towards the ball. Should have scored. If that goal goes in, no one questions him playing the next game. He did more in that 10 minutes than Jose's done since he's been here. I'm not just saying this to get views and check out our channel. This guy is taking away time from Fabio. I know the guy said, should he play against City? No, we need someone that's going to link up the ball. Are we going into that game expecting to get a result? If we win that game, does it get us closer to European football? No. Play Fabio. Let him make mistakes against City. Let Diaz and Stones pull him from pillar to post. Maybe he does get a goal. What will that do to his confidence? I don't see what Jose is going to do, because I don't think we're going to sign him. what's the benefit of playing in the season? We're not going to go down. We're not going to get Europa League. I mean, I'll let Scott talk because I'll take all of your time on this one. Why are we paying? We've already paid the 35 million on Fabio Silva. So why are we potentially going to pay another 18 million and hinder this guy's? Scott, carry on.
No, I mean, I think they're fair points, to be honest, mate. I think, you know, I'm a huge fan of Fabio, and I personally think going into that game against City, I think Nuno may set up similar to how he played against United. You know, when just before Christmas, he sort of rotated the team quite a lot. He gave a lot of younger players a chance, and everyone was quite surprised. But we gave him a really good game. Scott, I mean, do you think James is right? Do you think Silva should be playing Tuesday, get that experience of playing a big team, or do you think Jose is the man?
No, Jose definitely isn't the man. I won't go on another Jose rant because I think James just covered it all perfectly, didn't he? There, but yeah, I think we definitely need to give Silva more minutes because, as you say, as James said, you know, this is a guy that has got bags of potential. I'm a big fan of Silva because he has something that can't be taught, and that's the fact that he gets into the right position at the right time. That's something that the great strikers of the Premier League have. You know, your Michael Owen, Ian Wrights, they knew where to position themselves, and it sounds daft comparing him to them at the moment, of course, but you know, he's 18 years old. In 10 years' time, he'll be reaching his prime in 10 years. And if we can keep him happy, we're gonna have one hell of a striker on our hands. And so yeah, definitely, I'd just be giving Silva the time now for his development. We've not really got much to play for, and I don't even think it's just Silva. I'd be looking at the likes of Otazawi more. You know, Moutinho's coming to the end of his career. It's we might as well have a look at Otazawi. What do we think of him, and what's going to be his best development? We've got bags of potential in the under-23s as well, but we probably need to have a look at Corbin, who's one of them, isn't he? Playing very well in the under-23. So yeah, definitely. I think we need to start using these games now more to have a look at other players and also deciding, can these players actually play the way Nuno wants to play going forward?
Can I just jump in there? Sorry.
Yeah, go on, mate. Yeah, no problem.
Just that there was a comment there that mentioned. Sorry, I forget your name. He wouldn't be adverse to playing a 3-5-2. I mean, if the two is Silva and anyone, Silva and Kilman, fine. But if the problem with the 3-5-2 is the way that Nuno plays, he's very much a Mourinho manager where if you play that two, it affects 5 or 6 positions on the pitch. It means you can't play really Neto or Adama. Who then do you play in the midfield as a 3? I think we don't have good enough strikers to play a 2. We don't really have a good striker at the moment, just one. So there'd have to be a lot of chopping and changing for that 3-5-2. And listen, don't get me wrong, it's an experimental season. Why don't we do it? Why don't we play Otasawi? Give him more minutes instead of playing Zhao for 19, things like this. But moving forward, a 3-5-2, so many positions get affected by that. I don't think Nuno will do it.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I mean, the last time we played that, I believe, was against Chorley, and I don't think the two boys up top got a touch of the ball, did they? So, yeah. Scott, going back to what you said, obviously with the likes of Otasawi and stuff, I'm surprised he didn't get a chance yesterday when Moutinho had that little knock as well. And like, I think everyone is saying now, like James, you've said, I think our last two guests have said, you know, let's experiment. You know, we're not going to, I don't think we're going to get Europa League. We're not going to go down. Try something new, try something different. You know, a lot of people as well want to see more of Owen Otasawi because he's not really put a foot wrong when he's played in his natural position. You know, you could argue, you know, he had a bit of a strange game against Burnley, but that's when Nuno played him up front as like a false 9. You know,
yeah.
Do you agree? These types of players need to be playing more football. You know, the likes of Vitinha as well, who obviously I think everyone knows there's a talent there, but hasn't done enough to secure a full-time contract at Wolves. Are these the type of players that need to be playing more football for the rest of the season?
Yeah, definitely. I'd definitely say that. I think you've just touched on a good one, haven't you, with Vitinha? We can't really make a decision on him at the moment because we just haven't seen enough of him. And we're not playing... Where do you play him? I think for me, he's more of an attacking midfielder. And I think you're going to see... We need to start using that attacking midfield position. The problem Nuno has, though, at the moment is the fact that we can't play a 4 at the back because we just get absolutely massacred by so many teams because... I mean, who do you even play as a forward at the back at the moment, especially without Bolly? So I really think I kind of feel for Nuno in a way with the Ventina situation, because he just can't play a number 10 at the moment because we just haven't got the centre backs to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, James, what do we need if Nuno say Nuno says at the end of the season, right, next season we're going to be playing 4-2-3-1. What do Wolves need to improve to make sure we have a successful season with that formation?
Believe it or not, this might get clipped, and people might think I'm an idiot. We are not far away. If this season things would have been different in terms of Bowley signing that centre back and Raul not being injured, we wouldn't be far away from Champions League. Let me just explain. If we had 10 more points now than we do, we'd be 1 point behind West Ham, who sit in fourth. You've got to think, if we'd have signed that centre back in the summer and Raul wasn't injured, are you telling me that we don't pick up 10 points, turn a few losses into a win, and maybe a couple of draws, get that extra goal to win, give us those extra 8 or 9 points? We won 1 game out of 12. If we'd have signed that centre back and had Raul, we lie in the top 7 in my mind. It's not even a question. So I'm not against a 4-2-3-1. I don't want to play that formation if it's Neves and Moutinho next to each other. When you haven't got that 3 defenders behind you, we haven't got the legs there. I've said this, I would like to see Neves, if we do play a 3 midfield, I'd like to see him just in front of Moutinho, Atasawi, or if we do sign someone else, I do think he can play that forward position.
Yeah. But
it depends on the personnel. I mean, a centre-back is given. I think every man and his dog knows that we now need a centre-back. We can't keep playing. Again, and it's another game where 66% of our centre-backs are midfielders. People might argue now that Saiss is now a defender. That's a question for another day, but Dendonker's not going to play there for the foreseeable.
Yeah, it's a shame about Dendonker's situation, because I think we all know he's a quality player, but he just seems a little bit shaky, doesn't he, in that back 3? But I do agree. We need at least one sort of elite level centre back. So I think surely that's what they've been looking at. Boys, we're going to move on now. We've got a couple more guests to come on, but appreciate as always you boys jumping on.
Guys.
So I'll talk to you very soon. Cheers, boys. Thanks. Big thanks to James and Scott for jumping on. You can check out their channel. I'll leave a link to all the channels once the stream is finished as well. And obviously a lot of comments there on Willian Jose and so on. So yeah, guys, keep your comments coming in the comment section down below. Our next guest now is Kieran. Kieran, how you keeping, mate? I think you're on mute, mate. Sorry.
There you go. Good, mate.
Yeah, all good, thanks, mate. Been a couple of weeks since we last chatted, but Wolves have finished the month unbeaten. That draw against Newcastle, what did you reckon?
Yeah, I think in general it was disappointing performance. And in going in stoppage time, I was quite happy to get out of there with a point. I thought we probably a bit lucky to get a point, and then Silva has that chance at the end, and all of a sudden you're disappointed not to take all 3. So it was one of them where we could easily have been 2 or 3-0 down and have been dead and buried, and at the same time we could easily have won it at the end. So I think to get a point is still, based on how we played and how Newcastle played, we'll take it. It's not what the result any of us wanted, and we didn't play particularly well compared to the last few games. But yeah, a point's a point. Away from home, they're fighting for their lives, so it's not one to be too disappointed about. But we can do better than that.
Yeah, and what went wrong, do you think, for Wolves, especially that sort of, let's say, first 60 minutes or so? Obviously, Newcastle took the lead, but they had that goal disallowed as well. What were Wolves not doing that they, to not score? Were we just too negative, do you think, yesterday? Can you hear me, mate? Sorry?
Sorry, mate, you dropped out at the end there.
Oh yeah, sorry. Do you think what did Wolves do wrong yesterday? Do you think not to, obviously, first 60 minutes or so, it took us ages to go into the game. Do you think Nuno just set us up too negatively?
Yeah, I think it's all about starting the games at the minute. For me, I think Leeds, we started the game really well. First 10 minutes, long range shots, pressing hard at the pitch. And I thought against Newcastle, they're on a bad run. They know they had to get something from the game. If we got an early goal, which we never seem to do, but if we pressed high early on and got the early goal, or at least put them under pressure early on, that the game would be ours for the taking, really. And we just played into their hands. We didn't really get going until about half an hour in. And they had a bit of confidence, a bit of belief that they could get something from the game. And I think that was partly our own fault, whether it's down to the manager and the staff, whether it's the players on the pitch. it's hard to pinpoint that exactly. But yeah, I think if we'd have scored early on, first 10, 15 minutes, the game would have been ours for the taking, and we're quite good in those situations. But the problem is whenever we have the chance to do it, and it's been the story of last season as well as this season, the amount of games where you think we get an early goal and this game's ours for the taking, and we don't do it and make life hard for ourselves. So yeah, the starting games has been a problem for a while now, and it's gone on longer than this season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, second half, probably that sort of 20 minutes, 25 minutes when we were putting the pressure on Newcastle, you know, we look great. And it's annoying because every time we attack this season or put a positive spin on it, we do look good and it's enjoyable to watch. I mean, we go back to the game against Southampton. In the first time we played them, when we were playing 4 at the back, the last sort of, the second half, when we were attacking, it was some of the best football we've seen. And even against, I mean, I don't know, against Southampton as well in the league more recently, when we attack teams, we look good, and the pressure that we put on teams, they're just going to crumble. Do you think Nuno's got to go more positive in these games? You know, possibly not against City, which is understandable, but against the teams like, you know, that we should be beating, you know, do you think we've got to play higher up and just get in their faces a lot more?
Yeah, totally agree. And I think it's the debate come back again last night, 4 at the back, 3 at the back, how many up front, where do we play an attacking fielder? I don't think that's actually the problem as such in terms of our mentality in starting games. It's that higher press. Southampton away recently is the best example, and we were good against Leeds at it as well. We pressing hard at the pitch, winning the ball higher at the pitch, possession in the final third rather than passing around our back, passing around our own back line. And yet it's that mentality, I think, that's the problem, that high press. And the urgency and intensity as well. It's not always there. It comes and goes through games. You might have a 10-minute spell and you think this is great, and then all of a sudden we've dropped off again and we're behind the ball. So yeah, I think the debate came again, the formation, but I think it's more to do with the mentality and the way we approach games than specifics about formations and 3 at the back, 4 at the back when it comes to these type of games.
Yeah, and I don't know, obviously throughout all of today's stream, the big talking point has been Willian Jose. Obviously he's come in. Wolves have had decent form since he's come in, to be fair. You know, we finished this month unbeaten as well. But he had a quiet game again yesterday. What's your stance on him, Kieran? You know, has he come in and done the job Wolves want him to do, or do you think, you know, it's time to move on and give Fabio some more minutes?
It's an interesting debate, and I think I can't remember the names, but the two lads you were just talking to as well had quite strong views on Jose. I completely understand the points, and plenty of people agree with them. I think it's been slightly harsh on Jose and not defending his performance last night. It was poor from Jose. He didn't really contribute anything meaningful at all. I've not seen him have a shot since the game against Crystal Palace, which I think was his first start, which says a lot. However, before last night's game, I think he's helped a lot in terms of we've been able to press hard up the pitch. We've been able to keep possession in the final third, hard up the pitch. Because of him, he's kind of give us that link, which we've not had since Jimenez has been injured. But he just doesn't seem good enough. He's not good enough as an all-round striker. Silva's got qualities that Jose definitely doesn't have, but you can look at that as a vice versa as well. Mm-hmm. I think personally, I would stick with Jose for the City game. I think that kind of a game that it's going to be, Jose will be of more use to us. We're not going to be on air. We're not going to dominate possession. We're going to need him to help us keep the ball higher at the pitch. And then personally, I'd bring in Fabio Silva for the game at Villa, where we've got to look to be on the front foot a bit more and try and take the game to them and be on the front foot with runs in behind, rather than just trying to keep the ball every time we get possession. Because let's face it, City are going to dominate the ball on Tuesday night. So personally, I think there is still use for Jose. Would I sign him for £20 million at the end of the season at the minute? No. But I'm not sure I'd write him off as useless yet, because I think he has given us something in the last couple of games, that particularly as we've, the upturn in form. But yeah, I think it's helped Silva as well. His little cameos the last few games. Silva's looked bright. He's looked good. I think it's helped him. The pressure's come off him, but we started winning games. So I'd like to see Silva come in and start against Villa. And we've got a nice run of games in April as well, where I'd like to see Silva starting. Games where, again, we're going to be on the front foot. But yeah, I think Jose's still got his uses despite his poor performance last night.
Yeah, I think as well, I mean, I ask this question every week. I've not asked it yet today. We've got players in on loan. We've players option to buy. Do any of these get signed by Wolves in the summer at the moment? Or I don't think any of them, in my opinion, have done enough to secure a full-time contract unless Wolves are once again looking at the bigger picture and the future. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one. There were high hopes for both Vitinha and Aït-Nouri, especially with Aït-Nouri was kind of bought in, the opportunity arose to sign him, and he was kind of bought in as an upgrade to Vinagre. So they clearly saw him as an upgrade. And there's been signs from Aït-Nouri that he could be a very good wing back. The problem is he's definitely a wing back, and if we're going to look at playing 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2, or at least evolve to playing a back four in the next couple of seasons, is Aït-Nouri good enough to play left back? I'm not entirely sure. I think he's definitely much more of a wing back, so that's going to depend a lot on Nuno's tactical plans going forward. Vitinha was brought in with high hopes. I think Jeff Shee was quoted when we signed him as being an instrumental part of the team going forward. I'm not quite sure how that one's working out, but I think the fee for him is in the region of 20 million. Is it just short of 20 million? Yeah. Not shown enough. He's not been given too many opportunities, in all fairness, and he's looked okay in the spells he's had. I thought he was good at Old Trafford actually in the defeat there, but again, not to justify the amount of money that we could be putting up for him. And then Jose, again, we've just discussed, not for that amount of money for me. I think there's better out there, better value for money. So for me, Aït-Nouri is the one that I'd consider, but whether I'd actually go through with it, I think would probably depend on Nuno's tactical plans and if they've got any future at Wolves for Vinagre as well.
Yeah, I know. There's a couple of people there saying, don't think you sign any of them too steep and haven't shown enough. And yeah, I think that's right as well. Kieran, as always, mate, it's been a pleasure talking about the game and obviously the transfers and so on. But yeah, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll chat to you very soon.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Nice one, Kieran. See you, mate. Big thanks to Kieran for jumping on. Move on to our final guest of the stream today, guys. We've got Tom Parker. Tom, how you keeping, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Just got out of the shower, so yeah, a bit of a rushed one today.
It's all right, mate. 1-1 draw yesterday. We finished Feb unbeaten, but what were your thoughts after that game? Now they're just settled.
I thought it was an okay performance in patches. I thought that I was disappointed with the mentality that we employed, really, because I thought that this was a good chance for us to continue the momentum that we had in terms of, just pressing from the front. We've seen that in recent games it does work. So it was just frustrating, really, to see that we just didn't take that and run with it. And it's sort of been the theme of this season. And I was saying during the game yesterday, it's frustrating because we know that this works. We know that this system works when we use it in an attacking way. And it's confusing to me that Nuno doesn't employ it more often, considering that we know that it works. And I think that's probably my only gripe sometimes with Nuno, is he's far too stubborn in trying things that we've already shown. Thank you. He tries things that we know don't work, but then he refuses sometimes to try things that we know works. It's just really, really strange. Some defending. For a team built on defence, I mean, that goal was absolutely shocking. Really.
It happened 3 or 4 times yesterday, not just the goal, where the players literally were just dancing and waltzing in and out of our players. So Maximin for his goal that was disallowed. I think it happened once other, and then Joe Linton as well when his shot got blocked off the line by Saiss. The defending was woeful at times yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's far too passive. I mean, I just don't understand why we're not learning from our mistakes. I did a preview of the game, and I said to one of the other presenters, I was like, because he's a Newcastle fan, I said to him, the way you'll score is it's either set pieces or crosses, because the whole season we can't defend either. We haven't learned from our mistakes. Every time the ball comes in, no one's attacking it. I mean, Den Donker was just standing there. You got Lascelles with pretty much a free header. Granted, it was a really good header. But, I mean, he scored against us before, hasn't he? So surely we pick up on that and say, right, we've already conceded. We know Lascelles has caused us problems in the past. And to be honest, I think it's showing now that we have 3 centre mids in central defence because we're far too lightweight, too slow. whilst I think technically our back three is quite good, we can pass the ball out really well. I don't have any issues with them in possession, apart from Dendoncker. I think that defensively, there's just so much that needs to be done. I don't know why Kilman isn't playing. He's shown time and time again that he's a lot better than what Dendoncker has offered up at centre back. And I think Patricio was doing his best to injure Cody yesterday. So, yeah.
I know you mentioned Kilman there. Dan, who was from the Wolves fancast, who was on right at the start of the stream, he thinks that Max Kilman isn't even a Premier League defender. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's a bit harsh?
Wow, that's harsh. You really say that? Not he's been one of our best defenders this season. Oh God, no, I don't agree with that at all. If you watch Dendoncker play, or even Saiss at times, although I thought Saiss was probably the pick of the three yesterday. Dendoncker it's just so clumsy. For such a big guy, a physical guy, barely ever challenges any crosses. He's far too slow. He's too clunky as a centre-back. He's too stiff. He just reminds me a bit of a more technically gifted Danny Batt at times. He just looks like he's running in treacle when he's at the back. In midfield, he's okay because he's got the power to get back and forward, but I just don't like watching him in defence. He just doesn't look comfortable there for me. I think Kilman slots, whenever he plays, he slots in really well. I don't think he's put too much of a foot wrong. I can think of maybe one or two mistakes that he's made. The only poor game he's had was when he was played at left back, and he's not a left back, so I'd definitely have him in the side.
And obviously, on the other end of the pitch again, we saw Adama and Neto. I thought Neto was a little bit quieter yesterday, but Adama, you see some of the stats again. A lot of football pages jumping on the fact that he hasn't scored a goal, but I mean, his performance yesterday was much better, wasn't it?
That's the thing. If you have players like Paul Scholes or Iniesta or Xavi put in the limelight these days, they didn't get Xavi and Iniesta. Let's not forget. I know it's a weird comparison, but they didn't get bucket loads of goals and assists. If they were playing these days, people would slate them and say, they don't get enough goals and assists. It's ridiculous. The people minimise players down to stats. I don't think it tells the whole story. And I don't think the lacklustre punditry helped, to be honest. Dion Dublin was pretty laughable, to be honest. He spent too much time taking stairs up to the bedroom. But he was superb. He was the only player that was getting us yards up the pitch, and we saw that after the half an hour mark when Newcastle dropped off us in order to cope with him because he was seeing a lot more of the ball and he was causing them problems. I think that he's a vital player for the way we play. I think that his stats are misleading. I think last season he did really well because of Jimenez. I think if Jimenez was fit for most of this season, I think he probably would have got more assists. And we've already seen that he's got a decent shot on him. He's just far too inconsistent with his shooting. He was unlucky not to score yesterday, to be fair. But he was the main go-to for us, really. He was miles better than Neto yesterday.
Yeah, I thought Neto was quite quiet, but the massive, the big cause for debate, and I think this might be one that I put on Twitter later on. Obviously, Willian Jose for you on Tuesday. Is it Jose and that is the front man again, or does Fabio Silva deserve a chance to start again?
It's a tough one because you can see. I was pretty scathing of Jose in my match report because he was just anonymous. I don't think he just didn't do anything, and I think in the games that he's played, he hasn't really done much. I think he's a decent physical presence, yes, but I don't think his link-up play is particularly outstanding. I wouldn't say that it's better than Fabio Silva's. I think if Fabio Silva had put in the performance Jose did yesterday, I think people would have slated him again. So, for us to persist with him, I don't know. I think he just doesn't seem to be as energetic. Silva caused more problems in the fight in the penalty area than he did all game. So it depends what you want to go for. If you want the physical presence up top to maybe hold the ball up, then I would go Jose. But to be honest, he's made Silva look better, which is is not what people were expecting, obviously.
Yeah, it's obviously an interesting one. asked in the chat, Jose or Silva to start on Tuesday. We've got Chazza who reckons Silva. Farai who reckons Jose. Tim B reckons Catrona. I don't know why you've got some weird loving with Catrona there.
Yeah.
Tom reckons Willian Jose as well. Josh Jose. Half-Life Jose. And not Willy Bolly, Silva. Yeah, a lot of... I mean, it's pretty 50-50 to be fair.
It's fairly even. Personally, I would go Jose, just because we know what sort of game it's going to be. We're going to play with a low block. We're going to need someone to just hoof the ball up to, and you know, he can sort of... The ball does stick to him a bit better at times. I think it really depends on what you want from your striker. I think he is definitely more of the Raul Jimenez mould, but I don't think his link-up play was particularly fantastic yesterday. I mean, to be fair, they all had an off day. And I do think that if we were to play on the front foot more often, because he was good against Southampton, let's not forget, he was good against Southampton. Him and Neto and Adama were linking up quite well. You know, let's not forget that Jimenez has been in this side for, 3 years? So he's had the time to develop the connections with the players in and around the team. They know what he's going to do. Jose hasn't been here for that long. Granted, obviously, we do need him to hit the ground running, but it is difficult when you come into a new team and they've been so used to Jimenez up front. You know, it becomes second nature, really, to just expect him to be there. So I think it's unfair to compare him to Jimenez. Obviously, different players. I think Jimenez is a lot slighter. I think Jose is definitely a lot bigger and he's definitely more physical. But it depends. I think Silva was unlucky to not score yesterday. It was an unbelievable save by Dubravka. I don't know how on earth he kept it out.
Yeah.
You could argue that Silva could have put it in the far corner, head it back across goal, but I mean, no. I mean, as a striker, you get any sort of good contact on that, and you're pretty much expecting it to go in. You don't expect the goalkeeper to somehow just get an elbow and tip it onto the bar. But I thought the last 10 minutes we were really good, and I thought that the energy was much more what we needed. It's just a shame that it was in the last 10 minutes really, and not for the majority of the game. I thought we dumbed ourselves too much and showed a lot of respect to Newcastle, which I thought was really strange considering their form.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how we line up. I'd assume it'll be sort of very similar, you know, very deep and try and frustrate, City and suck the life out of the game, really. But yeah, as always, Tom, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your weekend, mate. But I appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you
once again, and I'll chat to you very soon.
See you later.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Well, big thanks to Tom. Big thanks to all the guests that have jumped on today's stream, guys. That is the end of the final word, and that is the final word on Newcastle 1, Wolves 1. I'll leave a link to our guests in the the description down below once the stream is ended. But I appreciate you all popping in on this Sunday afternoon and giving your thoughts on the situation. Of course, if you want to watch my immediate match reaction on the game and the fans reacts as well, that was out both out last night, and the match preview for the Manchester City game will be out tomorrow evening as well. But I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend as well. A few more Premier League games on, so I'm sure you'll go and enjoy those. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and I will catch you all like Tom said, listen to the Talking Wolves podcast as well, which was out last week. A new one will be out very, very soon. But yeah, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you, guys.